"My fire died. May I stay tonight?" the Apache girl asked. The cowboy said, "But I've only got one bed." The night was colder than she expected. The wind moved fast across the open land, cutting through her thin clothing like sharp fingers. The small fire she had built earlier was now only a circle of dark ash and weak smoke. She crouched beside it, trying to protect the last bit of warmth, but the wind won. The flames disappeared completely, leaving her in silence and darkness. The Apache girl hugged her knees and closed her eyes for a moment. She was very tired. Her feet hurt from walking all day, and her body felt weak from hunger. She had not eaten properly in 2 days. She had been moving mostly at night, hiding during the day, afraid of being seen. Every sound in the dark made her heart beat faster. Coyotes cried far away, and the dry grass whispered as the wind passed through it. She remembered when she was not alone. Not long ago, she had been traveling with her family and others from her people. Soldiers had come, shouting orders she did not fully understand. There was fear, confusion, and crying. In the chaos, she was pushed aside. Horses ran, dust filled the air. When the noise settled, her people were gone. She waited, hiding behind rocks until night came, hoping they would return. They never did. Since then, she had been walking with no clear direction, guided only by instinct and hope. She knew this land well, but it no longer felt safe. Every step felt heavier than the last. She opened her eyes and looked around. The moon was half hidden by clouds, giving just enough light to see shapes in the distance. That was when she noticed it, a small glow far away. At first, she thought it was her imagination. She stood up slowly and looked again. The glow remained steady. A house. Her heart lifted slightly, then filled with fear again. Approaching a stranger was dangerous, especially at night. But staying where she was would be worse. Without fire or shelter, the cold could harm her before morning. She wrapped her worn shawl tighter around herself and began to walk toward the light. Each step felt uncertain. Her legs trembled, but she kept moving. The land was quiet, too quiet. As she came closer, she could see a small wooden cabin standing alone. A weak lantern light shone through one window. A horse was tied outside, moving its head slowly. She stopped a few steps away and listened. No voices, no movement, only the wind. Her hands shook as she lifted them and knocked gently on the door. The sound felt too loud in the stillness. Nothing happened. She waited, then knocked again, a little louder this time. Her throat felt dry. She did not know what she would say if someone answered. After a long moment, she heard movement inside. Heavy footsteps approached the door. It opened slowly. A tall man stood there holding a lantern. He looked surprised, then cautious. His face was rough, marked by years of sun and hard work. His eyes studied her carefully. She lowered her gaze, showing respect. In a quiet voice, she spoke in broken English, the words difficult but necessary. "My fire died," she said. "May I stay tonight?" The cowboy did not answer right away. He looked at her clothes, her tired face, her bare feet covered in dust. He had not seen anyone come to his door in a long time, especially not at this hour. Helping her could bring trouble. Letting her go could mean harm. He sighed quietly. "I don't have much," he said slowly. "And I've only got one bed." She nodded quickly. "Floor is fine," she said, "just warm." He hesitated again, then stepped aside and opened the door wider. "Come in," he said. The warmth inside the cabin hit her immediately. It was not much, but compared to the cold night, it felt like a blessing. The room was small. There was a table, 2 chairs, a stove, and a single bed in the corner. Everything was simple and clean, but clearly lonely. She stood near the door, unsure where to go. "You can sit," he said, pointing to a chair. She sat carefully, keeping her hands folded in her lap. The cowboy placed the lantern on the table and watched her quietly. He poured some water into a cup and handed it to her. She accepted it with both hands and drank slowly, grateful. For a while, neither of them spoke. The cowboy added wood to the stove. The fire crackled softly, filling the cabin with gentle warmth. He sat across from her, his elbows resting on the table. "You alone?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes." He did not ask more. He could see the story in her eyes. Outside, the wind continued to howl, but inside the cabin, the world felt smaller and calmer. Two strangers sat together, both carrying pain, both unsure of what morning would bring. Neither of them knew that this night, born from a dead fire and a simple knock on a door, would change their lives forever. The cabin stayed quiet for a long time after she finished drinking the water. The warmth from the stove slowly reached her hands and feet, and she finally felt her body relax a little. Still, she did not fully trust the peace. She had learned the hard way that calm moments could disappear quickly. The cowboy stood up and took a small pot from a shelf. He poured some water into it and placed it on the stove. He did not ask if she was hungry. He could see it in the way she watched every movement, in the way her shoulders leaned slightly forward, like someone trying not to hope too much. "I've got some beans," he said. "Not much, but enough." She nodded again. "Thank you." Her voice was soft, almost like the wind outside. He noticed how young she looked in the lantern light, strong but worn down by travel and worry. He wondered how far she had come alone. As the food warmed, he kept a respectful distance. He had lived alone for years, and sharing his space with anyone felt strange. Sharing it with a stranger from a different world felt even stranger. Still, something in him refused to turn her away. When the food was ready, he placed a bowl in front of her and handed her a spoon. She hesitated for just a second, then began to eat slowly. She did not rush, even though she was clearly hungry. He watched her carefully, seeing not fear, but caution mixed with quiet strength. He poured himself a small portion and sat across from her. The sound of spoons against bowls filled the silence. Outside, the night grew colder, but the cabin stayed warm. After a while, he spoke again. "You can sleep on the bed," he said. "I'll take the chair." She looked up quickly, surprised. She shook her head. "No, you live here. I can sleep on floor." He thought about it. The floor was hard and cold, even near the stove. He did not like the idea, but he also understood pride when he saw it. "We'll figure it out later," he said. "Eat first." She finished her food and placed the bowl gently on the table as if afraid to make noise. He took the bowls and cleaned them with a cloth. When he turned back, she was standing near the door, looking uncertain again. "You can rest," he said. "You're safe here tonight." The word safe seemed to reach her deeply. Her shoulders dropped just a little and she nodded. She sat back down, and for the first time, her eyes moved around the cabin more freely. She noticed the small details, the worn boots by the wall, the folded blanket on the bed, the old photograph on a shelf turned face down. The cowboy followed her gaze and felt a familiar heaviness in his chest. He had not looked at that photo in a long time. "You don't get many visitors," she said carefully. He gave a short smile. "None, usually." She was quiet again. Then she spoke, slowly choosing her words. "Thank you for door," he nodded. "You're welcome." Time passed gently. The lantern burned lower. The fire in the stove settled into a steady glow. Her eyes grew heavy, but she fought sleep, still unsure. He noticed and stood up. He took the extra blanket from the bed and placed it on the chair. "You can lie down here if you want," he said. "I'll stay awake for a bit." She looked at the chair, then at him. "You are tired too." "I'm used to it," he replied. She thought for a moment, then spoke again. "In my people, we share fire. No one sleeps alone when cold." Her words surprised him. He had not expected wisdom from someone so young and worn. He cleared his throat. "The bed's big enough," he said finally. "We'll keep distance just for warmth, nothing more." She studied his face, searching for something. Whatever she saw seemed to ease her fear. She nodded once. They prepared quietly. He placed a folded blanket between them on the bed as a clear space. She lay down on one side, keeping her hands close to herself. He lay on the other, facing the wall. For a while, neither moved. The bed creaked softly when he shifted. He worried she might regret staying, but she remained still, breathing slowly. The warmth between them, even with space, felt comforting. "You have name?" she asked softly. "Ethan," he replied after a pause. "Yours?" She hesitated, then spoke. "Naya." He repeated it quietly, as if testing the sound. "Naya." Silence returned, but it was no longer heavy. It felt shared. As the night deepened, memories crept into Ethan's mind, his wife's laugh, his child's small hands. He had closed himself off from the world to survive the loss. Now, lying beside a stranger who had lost her world too, he felt something stir inside him. Not pain, not hope, something in between. Naya stared at the wall, listening to the steady sound of his breathing. For the first time since she had been separated from her people, she did not feel completely alone. She did not know what morning would bring, but for this one night, the cold stayed outside. The wind howled, the fire glowed, and under one roof, two wounded souls rested, carefully, quietly, finding comfort not in words, but in simple human presence. Morning did not come quickly. The night stretched on, slow and quiet, as if time itself had decided to move carefully around the small cabin. The fire in the stove had burned down to soft red pieces, giving off gentle heat. The lantern was low now, its light faint, but enough to show the outlines of the room. Naya lay awake for a long time. Sleep came in short waves, never deep. Each time her eyes closed, memories tried to return, voices, running feet, the sound of fear. She pushed those thoughts away and focused on the present. The steady breathing beside her reminded her she was not alone. It was a strange comfort, but a real one. Ethan also remained awake. He faced the wall, staring at the rough wooden boards, counting the cracks without meaning to. He was not used to sharing space, especially not his bed. For years, this cabin had been his world, quiet and controlled. Tonight, it felt different, but not wrong. After a long while, Naya shifted slightly. The movement was small, but he noticed. "You can sleep," he said softly, not turning around. "I won't move." "I am not afraid," she replied, "just thinking." He nodded, though she could not see it. "Me too." There was silence again, but it felt lighter now, like the silence of two people sitting by the same fire rather than standing apart. After some time, Naya spoke again. "You live here long?" "Years," he answered. "Too many, maybe." She thought about that. "Why alone?" He hesitated. He had not spoken about his past in a long time. Words felt heavy in his mouth, but somehow easier in the dark. "My family used to live here," he said slowly. "My wife, my son." Naya turned her head slightly, careful not to cross the space between them. "Where they go?" "They passed," he said. "Sickness came through town, took them both." She was quiet. In her world, loss was spoken of openly, honored. In his, it was something people buried deep. "I am sorry," she said simply. "Thank you." He expected the pain to rise, sharp and familiar, but instead it came softly, like a dull ache. Speaking the truth out loud did not break him the way he feared it might. Naya swallowed and spoke again, her voice low. "My mother told me, when someone we love leaves this world, they do not disappear. They walk with us, just quieter." He thought about that for a moment. "That sounds nice." "It helps," she said. The wind outside picked up, brushing against the cabin walls. Ethan pulled the blanket slightly higher, careful not to touch her. "You don't have to talk," he added. "If you'd rather rest." She shook her head. "Talking helps me too." So she told him small pieces of her story, not everything, just enough. She spoke of traveling with her people, of the land they knew, of songs sung at night to guide dreams. She did not describe the fear in detail, only said they were separated and she had been alone since. "I walked mostly at night," she said. "During day I hide, I listen." "That takes strength," he said. She gave a quiet, almost shy sound that might have been a laugh. "I did not feel strong." "Still did it," he replied. Her breathing slowed a little after that. The words seemed to settle her. For Ethan, something shifted too. He had spent years believing his life was finished, that nothing new could grow from it. Listening to Naya, he realized life kept moving, even when broken. At some point, the fire faded further and the cabin grew cooler. Without thinking, Ethan adjusted the blanket so it covered them both more fully, still keeping space. Naya noticed but said nothing. She simply relaxed into the warmth. Eventually, sleep came, real sleep this time. When Ethan opened his eyes again, pale light filled the cabin. Morning had arrived. For a brief second he forgot everything. Then he remembered. He turned his head carefully. Naya was asleep, her face peaceful, her dark hair spread softly across the pillow. She looked younger in daylight, less guarded. He felt a strong need to protect that quiet moment. He sat up slowly, trying not to wake her, and stood. His joints ached from the chair and the bed, but he did not mind. He added wood to the stove and stepped outside to check the horse. The air was cold but clear. The sky was light blue, promising a calm day. He took a deep breath, feeling something he had not felt in a long time: purpose, even if small. When he returned inside, Naya was awake, sitting up carefully. "Morning," he said. She nodded. "Morning." He poured water and handed it to her again. "We'll eat something soon." She accepted it. "You are kind," she said. He shrugged. "Just doing what anyone should." She looked at him seriously. "Not everyone does." The words stayed with him. They ate quietly, the simple food tasting better in the morning light. When they finished, Naya stood and wrapped her shawl around herself. "I should go," she said. "You helped enough." He felt the weight of her words. Letting her leave felt wrong, but keeping her felt complicated. "The land's rough," he said, "especially alone." She nodded. "I know." There was a pause, heavy but honest. "You can stay a little longer," he said finally. "Rest, then we'll see." Her eyes lifted to his, surprised. Then she smiled softly, the kind of smile that carried both gratitude and caution. "Thank you," she said. Outside, the sun rose higher. Inside the small cabin, two lives, damaged but still breathing, stood at the edge of something new, not knowing where it would lead, only knowing that the night had passed, and neither of them had faced it alone. The day moved forward slowly, like it was giving both of them time to breathe. Sunlight came through the small window and touched the wooden floor, warming the room little by little. Naya stood near the table, unsure what to do with her hands. She was not used to staying in one place for long. Rest felt strange, almost wrong after days of walking and hiding. Ethan noticed her unease. He had seen it before in himself, that feeling that came when silence lasted too long. "You don't have to sit still," he said. "If you want, you can help me outside or just walk around." She looked at him, then nodded. "I would like to help." They stepped outside together. The open land stretched wide in every direction. The morning air was crisp but kinder than the night before. Ethan showed her where he kept water, how he fed the horse, how he checked the fence lines each day. She followed closely, watching carefully, learning quickly. She did not speak much, but she listened to everything. As they worked, Ethan realized how long it had been since someone walked beside him. Not behind him, not far away, beside him. The quiet did not feel empty anymore. It felt shared. Naya noticed small things too. She saw how he moved slowly but with care, how he spoke gently to the horse, how he paused sometimes as if listening to thoughts he did not say out loud. She understood silence. In her culture, silence often carried more truth than words. Later, they sat outside near the cabin, eating a simple meal. The sun was higher now and the cold had faded. "You can stay today," Ethan said again. "No rush." She looked toward the open land, then back at him. "If I stay, will trouble come to you?" He thought about it honestly. "Maybe," he said, "but trouble finds people anyway." She smiled faintly. "That is true." The rest of the day passed with small tasks. Naya helped clean the cabin, sweeping the floor, wiping the table. She did it carefully, as if the place mattered to her already. Ethan watched from time to time, feeling something unfamiliar, gratitude mixed with quiet relief. In the afternoon, she stepped outside and sat near the cabin wall. She picked up a small stone and turned it over in her fingers. Ethan joined her, sitting a short distance away. "You can ask," she said suddenly. He looked at her. "Ask what?" Questions, she replied. I see them in your eyes. He hesitated, then nodded. Where were you going before last night? She took a slow breath. I do not know, I only knew I had to keep moving. Do you have family out there? He asked gently. She shook her head. Not that I can find. He looked out at the land. It's a hard world to cross alone. Yes, she said quietly, but staying alive means walking forward even when the path is not clear. Her words stayed with him. As evening came closer, the sky changed colors. The wind softened. Naya stood and watched the horizon, her face calm but thoughtful. You are thinking of leaving, Ethan said. Yes, she admitted. I do not want to be a burden. He frowned slightly. You're not, she met his eyes. Still, I cannot stay forever without knowing why. He understood what she meant. She was not asking for permission. She was asking for truth. He took a deep breath. You can stay for now, he said. Help around the ranch, rest. Figure out your next step, that's all. She searched his face, then nodded slowly. For now. That night they shared another meal. The cabin felt warmer than before, not just from the fire. When it came time to sleep, there was no awkward pause. They arranged the space naturally, with respect and quiet understanding. As darkness settled outside, Ethan found himself thinking about the past less and the present more. He realized he had laughed once that day, softly, without noticing. It surprised him. Naya lay awake again for a while, but her thoughts were different now. They were not only about survival, they were about possibility. She did not know what this place would become to her, but she knew one thing. It was the first place since her separation where she felt seen, not hunted or ignored. The night passed gently. When morning came, Naya woke before Ethan. She stepped outside quietly and watched the sunrise. She picked up 2 sticks and rubbed them together, slowly and patiently, the way her mother had taught her. After a few moments, a small flame appeared. She fed it carefully, protecting it from the wind. Ethan watched from the doorway unseen. The fire grew steady, strong enough to last. For the first time in a long while, both of them felt it, not certainty, not promises, but a quiet sense that staying a little longer might not be a mistake. Days slowly turned into weeks, and the cabin no longer felt like a place where time stood still. Each morning began with simple routines. Ethan checked the land and the horse, while Naya helped with small tasks around the cabin. She learned quickly. She watched carefully and remembered everything. Ethan did not have to explain things twice. At first, they spoke only when needed, but little by little, words came more easily. Sometimes they talked while working, sometimes while eating, and sometimes just sitting outside, watching the sky change colors. There was no pressure to fill the silence. Both of them understood quiet. Naya began to smile more. It was not a wide or careless smile, but a gentle one that showed she felt safe. She slept better too. The shadows under her eyes faded, and her steps became lighter. The land that once felt like a threat now felt like something she could stand on again. Ethan noticed these changes. He also noticed changes in himself. He woke up with purpose. His days no longer felt empty. The cabin felt lived in, not haunted by memory. He still thought of his wife and son, but the thoughts no longer crushed him. They felt like part of him, not the end of him. One afternoon, while fixing a loose fence post together, Naya spoke quietly. You do not look at the photo anymore. Ethan paused. He knew what she meant. I don't feel the need to, he said. She nodded. That means they are not lost. He thought about her words for a long time after that. Sometimes travelers passed near the land, but none came close enough to cause trouble. Ethan remained careful. He knew helping Naya came with risk, but he did not regret it. He treated her as a guest, not a possession, not a problem to solve. One evening, as they sat near the fire outside, Naya held her hands toward the warmth. I will not stay forever, she said. He looked at her, calm but honest. I know. But I am grateful, she added. This place gave me time to heal. And you gave this place life, he replied. She smiled at that. The night air was cool but not harsh. The fire burned steadily, not fighting the wind. Naya watched the flames carefully, making sure they stayed strong. Ethan realized that the first night she came, her fire had died. Now she knew how to keep it alive again. In the days that followed, Naya began preparing quietly. She fixed her worn shoes, gathered what little she owned, and spoke more about her plans. She wanted to find others from her people, or at least reach a safer place. Ethan listened without interrupting. He did not try to stop her. On her last morning, the sky was clear. Naya packed her things and stepped outside. Ethan handed her food and water. "You'll be fine," he said. She met his eyes. "So will you." They stood there for a moment, not knowing what else to say. No promises were made. None were needed. Before leaving, Naya turned back and placed a small stone near the cabin door. "So you remember," she said. He nodded. She walked away, steady and strong, disappearing into the open land. Ethan watched until he could no longer see her. Then he went back inside. The cabin was quiet again, but not empty. That night, Ethan lit the fire and sat beside it. The flames reflected softly in his eyes. He felt peace, not because life was easy, but because he knew kindness still mattered. Somewhere beyond the horizon, Naya walked forward with her fire burning bright inside her. And both of them carried the same truth with them. Even one night of shelter, one act of care, can change a life forever.